course, again, these blogs don't have to be in English, but the same principle of commenting, discussing and interacting does apply, whatever the language and whatever the subject. It's all about connecting the local and the global as part of the language learning process. But we can go a step further. There's no reason why students have to contribute to other people's blogs, although that can be a very good place to start. Once they're a little more familiar with the technology, they can have their own blogs, and they don't have to be at a very high level of proficiency either. This blog was built by a primary teacher on an in-service course I ran in Hong Kong earlier this year. It's a technological version of a toy diary. Every night, one student in the class gets to take home the class toy, which is a monkey called Bobo. And that night, or the next morning, the student is asked to post an entry on the blog saying what the monkey got up to. So all of those entries taken together constitute the class diary. Actually, the demands on any individual student are relatively low, but from the beginning, students are gaining practice in reading and writing skills, and crucially also in multiliteracy skills as they combine text with images, audio and video. Blogs don't have to be shared by a whole class though. This is an English learner in Taiwan who's using her own blog to describe her feelings about the summer and then posting those feelings on the public internet where they can be read by anyone in the world. It actually can be very motivating for students to know that the language they're learning is being used to communicate, potentially at least, with an international audience. And here's an English learner in Japan who is writing, amongst other things, about the Japanese Coming of Age Day, and again, posting that information on the public internet. Or here's an English learner in Qatar, projecting his local identity as he writes, amongst other things, about the place of camels in his culture. So if reading blogs from around the world is a really good way for local students to connect with local culture, then writing blogs can be a very good way for students to project their own local culture to a global audience. It's been suggested by Dana Boyd that blogs may play a very important role in identity development. This is because she says blogs let people work through identity issues by giving them a mirror in which to reflect on their own performance. Nowhere is that more true than where identity development meets language development. And although we can see this at all levels of proficiency, it's probably most obvious amongst advanced language learners. This is the personal blog of a Chinese learner of English who's currently studying at Unitec in Auckland in New Zealand. When I first visited his blog last year, it was, as you can see, entitled Wu Chao Chen, and the subtitle was, "Hi there, nice to see you on the campus in Unitec." When I visited again this year, he had anglicised his name to Kyle Chan and had dropped any obvious association with a study environment. So what we're seeing here is a shift over the course of a year towards a new sense of identity, one that is more anglophone and less student-like. It's all about identity and language development at that point where the local and the global meet. So what about the dangers of blogging then? Well, the media like to remind us on a very regular basis that there are lots of trivial and uninteresting blogs out there. And that is certainly true. But actually, I think this is less of a problem in education where our primary purpose is teaching. It may mean, though, that teachers need to very carefully craft feedback mechanisms to make sure that students do receive responses. There's nothing worse than pouring out your thoughts in a public forum and not getting an answer. Of course, that might take care of itself in time, with students' blogs becoming more interesting as they develop their online voices and find more to say. Then there are privacy issues. We do need to warn students from an early stage about the dangers of posting material on the public internet that they may later regret. Once something is out there on the net, it's almost impossible to get it back. So in summary then, there are many advantages to blogs for language learners. They allow them to read a wide range of authentic sources, to interact in the target language with a wide range of users and on a wide range of topics, and to develop an online identity. And that means developing both the linguistic and non-linguistic means of self-expression while receiving feedback from a wide audience. So as I've been saying all along, it's about using this Web 2.0 tool to build links between the local and the global as part of the language learning process. As long as we bear in mind the potential drawbacks, triviality, lack of feedback and privacy issues, then there are many creative ways that we can be using blogs in the language classroom. Okay, that brings me to the second Web 2.0 tool I want to look at today, namely wikis. As with blogs, the easiest thing you can do with wikis is to simply read them. This is an extract from the Wikipedia article about language. Wikis are collaboratively authored websites where many people can contribute. As a result, typically they are less personal than blogs and theoretically more objective and more factual. But this is where students need to learn not just to read wikis, but to critically evaluate what they read. In other words, they need to develop information literacy skills. My next 3 slides are taken from a talk given last year by Mark Pesci, who's given me permission to show you them here today. They all contain extracts from online encyclopedias on the subject of kangaroos. This is the entry from Wikipedia. A kangaroo is a marsupial from the family Macropodidae, etc. Pretty much what you'd expect. Here's the entry from Uncyclopedia. Of course, it doesn't take most of us very long to see that this is meant to be humorous. But remember that it's not always so easy for language learners to spot humour so quickly. And here is the entry from Conservapedia. This one's not meant to be a joke. This is entirely serious, but obviously it describes a worldview to which many of us would not subscribe. And therefore it's a great illustration of exactly why students need to develop the information literacy skills that will allow them to evaluate the accuracy and applicability of information that they find online. It is an information jungle out there. Okay, as with blogs, students can also contribute to wikis. Anthony Kay said many years ago that computer-mediated communication could lead to the weaving together of ideas and information from many people's minds. Nowhere is that more true than on wiki pages. I know that many TESOL teachers, for example, are now getting their students to contribute to Simple English Wikipedia. It's a really good way of getting students to contribute their specialised local knowledge in a global forum. And given the editing and re-editing typical of wikis, it's also an exercise in process writing. But as with all Web 2.0 tools, we can go a step further. Wikis can be an excellent platform for whole class interaction. Methodologically, it is about process writing. It's about the drafting and redrafting of work. Pedagogically, it's about social constructivism. Students working together to collaboratively build knowledge and understanding. Motivationally, it's about giving students ownership of their own work. This wiki was built by a biology teacher on an in-service course I ran last year, and what she's done is to place the entire syllabus of her course on the top page of the wiki with key terms hyperlinked. Now if we click on one of those hyperlinks, such as for example the one that says stromatolite, we'll be taken into a page with key questions about stromatolites. Students in her class were divided into pairs and assigned to write short articles answering the key questions on the topics they'd been set. They were also encouraged to use the discussion boards that typically underpin wiki pages. So you can see here that there are 56 postings on the stromatolites discussion board. Some